In August 2025, Zelensky enters the White House with a PowerPoint. The title of the presentation? Making U.S.-Ukraine drone industry great. He had chosen his words carefully. It was Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," just adapted. It was a way of saying, this is good for you, this is good for the United States. The following slides showed a map of the Middle East, a warning that Iran was improving its drones, and a concrete proposal. Let Ukraine build combat centers on American bases in the region before it's too late. Trump listened and asked the team to analyze it. And do you know what they did? An American official explained later, bluntly, "We thought it was just Zelensky being Zelensky." Someone decided not to buy it. 6 months later, Iran launched hundreds of drones against American bases in the Middle East. In 3 days, the United States burned through 800 Patriot missiles, more than they sent to Ukraine in 4 whole years of war. 6 American soldiers were dead, and the Pentagon called Ukraine. In this video, you'll understand how a country destroyed by 4 years of war created the most sought-after weapon in the world, and why this changes everything in the Middle East conflict. To understand what happened next, you need to understand the problem the United States had on its hands. Iran was not attacking with advanced technology. They weren't stealth fighters. They weren't high-precision missiles. They were Shahids, cheap, simple drones, mass-produced and launched in large numbers. Each one costs Iran between $20,000 and $50,000 to produce. That's minimal compared to what the country spends on other weapons. But the problem isn't the cost of the Shahid. The problem is the cost of shooting it down. Each American Patriot missile is worth about $4 million. So, when Iran launches a group of 5 drones in a single attack wave, it spends at most $250,000. The United States spends $20 million just to respond. That's an 80-to-1 ratio. 80 US dollars spent for every Iranian dollar. This isn't a battle, it's a financial trap, and Iran knew exactly what it was doing. The strategy was simple and cruel, to force the Americans to spend far more than Iran itself was spending. Attack after attack. Until the Patriot stockpile started to run out. In just 3 days of conflict, according to Zelensky, the United States and its allies in the Middle East fired 800 interceptor missiles. To give you an idea of what that means, in the 4 years of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, the United States sent 600 Patriot missiles to Ukraine. The Middle East burned through more than that in 72 hours. This became an unsustainable situation. And it was at that moment that the Pentagon remembered that presentation it had ignored about 6 months earlier. The official request for help arrived in Ukraine on March 5th. Zelensky posted on X, "We received a request from the United States for specific support in protecting against Shahids in the Middle East region." He responded immediately. Ukrainian teams began to depart for Jordan to protect American bases in the country. But then something happened that sums up the relationship between the two countries at that moment very well. Stop and think. What would you do if your own army asked for help behind the scenes while you publicly said you didn't need it? While Ukrainian experts were traveling to the Middle East at the request of the Pentagon itself, President Donald Trump went on Fox News Radio and said bluntly, "No, we don't need their help in defense against drones." Stop and think about that. The Pentagon asked for help. The Ukrainians were already on their way, and the President of the United States publicly said he didn't need them. Zelensky didn't respond with anger, he responded with facts and kept sending specialists. But what did Ukraine have that the world didn't already know about? How did a country destroyed by 4 years of war suddenly become the world's leading military authority on drone defense? Well, the answer has a name and costs $2,000. I'm talking about Sting. Reuters described the drone as a lava lamp with wings, flying with a terrifying screech. That's an accurate description. A drone with 4 propellers and a bullet-shaped body, produced with a 3D printer, with the engines facing forward instead of upward. It wasn't made to fly gracefully, it was made to race and reach the target before it gets to its destination.
Да, все снято.
The Sting reaches 280 kilometers per hour, has a range of up to 37 kilometers depending on the variant, and operates above 3 kilometers in altitude. It carries a thermal camera that detects the heat from a Shahed's engine in the middle of the night, even in fog or low visibility. When it finds the target, it uses artificial intelligence to lock onto it by itself during the final part of the flight. The operator can destroy it by direct impact or trigger the explosion at the exact moment. The explosive charge weighs 500 grams, small enough to keep the cost low and big enough to take out the Shahed. Now tell me, how much do you think it costs to shoot down one of these drones with the solution Ukraine developed? When I found that out, I was impressed. The production cost is somewhere between $1,000 and $2,500. The person operating this drone isn't a specialist trained at a military academy. A pilot with experience in FPV drones learns to use the Sting in 3 or 4 days of training. And in Ukraine, after 4 years of drone warfare, there are pilots like that everywhere. One of them is called Paskudnik. That's his war name. In Ukrainian, it means unpleasant guy. Before the war, he was a carpenter. Today, he operates the Sting from inside a modified van, parked in an open field, together with a team of 12 to 15 people spread out within a radius of a few kilometers, with radar support. When Reuters asked what it's like to pilot the drone in real combat, Paskudnik gave the only answer that made sense. You can't describe it in words, you have to feel it. The numbers speak for themselves. Since it came into widespread use in June 2025, the Sting has shot down almost 4,000 Russian drones. In December of that year, it was the world's first interceptor to destroy the Garan-3, the jet-powered version of the Russian Shahed. And it flies too fast for most conventional defense systems. In January 2026, Ukrainian interceptors were responsible for 70% of all Shaheds shot down over Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital. It wasn't the missiles or the anti-aircraft guns, it was the $2,000 drones. And this is where the math changes everything. Iran built its strategy on a very simple calculation. Cheap drones force expensive responses. With the Patriot, this logic worked perfectly, but with the Sting, the game is turned upside down. A group of 5 Shaheds costs Iran about $250,000. Using the Patriot, the United States spent $20 million to respond. Using the Sting, they spend between $5,000 and $10,000. Suddenly, it's the Americans who have the financial advantage, and it's Iran that's wasting money with each attack. The trap that Iran had set snapped shut on Iran itself. And it wasn't the country with the largest military budget in the world that discovered this solution. It was a country that was out of money, without enough missiles, without guaranteed support, and that had to solve the problem on its own. But what Zelensky brought to the Middle East wasn't just a cheap drone. On March 17th, 2026, he gave a speech at the British Parliament in London in front of members of Parliament, NATO leaders, and the international press. He wasn't there to ask for support, he was there to show what Ukraine had built. He told Parliament, "There are 201 Ukrainians in the Middle East and the Gulf region right now, and another 34 are ready to leave." These specialists were already in the United Arab Emirates, in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, and on their way to Kuwait. They didn't go there to sell a product in a box. They went there to teach a way of fighting that took 4 years to build on the battlefield. Attack by attack, drone by drone. Now, imagine the military commander sitting in an operations room holding a regular iPad. The same thing you would normally use to watch a video like this. Instead, on the screen, he sees in real time every ongoing drone attack, every confirmed kill with video, and where each threat is coming from. With a touch, he moves all the defense systems to the right position before the next Shahed appears on the radar. This isn't science fiction. It's the system that Zelensky revealed in that speech and that he, his prime minister, his defense minister, and the field commanders already use in their day-to-day wartime operations. What Ukraine is exporting isn't just a weapon, it's a complete package. The drone, the training, and this real-time information system that turns any military base into an intelligent defense network. According to reports from the Wall Street Journal, Saudi Aramco, the largest oil company in the world, has entered negotiations to buy Ukrainian drones to protect its oil fields. 11 countries have formally requested help. The United Kingdom has formed a partnership with Ukraine. The Ukrainians provide the knowledge and the British provide the factories. They work together to produce and distribute these systems worldwide. In his speech in London, Zelensky summed it all up with a straightforward sentence. If a Shahed needs to be stopped in the Emirates, we can do it. If it needs to be stopped in Europe or in the United Kingdom, we can do it. Now think for a moment about the impact of that. How many attacks could have been prevented? It's disturbing to think about it, but looking at what's happening now, I can only remember Mark Twain's phrase, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes." You see, the history of war is full of moments when the cheaper weapon defeated the more expensive one. The slingshot against the sword, the musket against armor, the $2,000 drone against the $4 million missile. A recurring pattern always gives an advantage to whoever learns it first. In August 2025, Zelensky walked into the White House with a PowerPoint, was called Zelensky being Zelensky, and left empty-handed. In March 2026, in the British Parliament, he said something very profound. The regimes of Russia and Iran are brothers in hatred, and that's why they are brothers in arms. And we want regimes built on hatred to never win at anything. Stop and think. We're talking about a country still at war that never received enough patriots, which was ignored by the White House. That built its own solution because it had no other choice, and turned that solution into one of the most sought-after military technologies on the planet. As you can see, Ukraine didn't wait to be respected before taking action. It acted, and the whole world is learning from it. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that if the United States had accepted Zelensky's proposal in August of 2025, the conflict in the Middle East would have taken a different course? Share your thoughts below. If this content made you think, share it with someone who follows topics like this, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this is the moment. This conflict is changing faster than the media can keep up. If you want to understand what's really happening, you already know where to find it. Until next time.